Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American English training. I'm happy to see you here in our live class. Today, at the beginning of class, I'd like to talk a little bit about fluent speech, how we link words together, and how we reduce sounds to connect and flow. You may notice that native speakers speak differently than non-native speakers or English language learners in terms of sounds can change and how we connect. So we're going to look at a couple of phrases. We're going to look at the phrase at the end of the day and out of order. And I invite you to leave your questions in the chat or in a comment if you're watching this later on, and I will address your questions as well. So you can ask questions about this topic or any topic that you like. We had a question this morning about when I'm live, and we host this live class every Saturday at this time, which is 9:15 my time here in Seattle and the West Coast, and it's 12:15 p.m. On the East Coast of the U.S. You can also look on our channel page at Speech Modification to see the upcoming classes. I post them on our community page, as well as you can see them on the home page. It'll show you past and upcoming live streams. So let's take a look at our topic for today. When we have a phrase like at the end of the day, we say that in a chunk together. It's linked together. So I don't speak in English word by word. I'm not saying at the end of the day. And so knowing about these reductions and linking, can be very helpful in speaking fluently and smoothly and pronouncing everything correctly and like a native speaker. So breaking down at the end of the day, the first thing I want to point out is that the word at, if I'm saying, where are you at, which is actually not correct grammar, but people will say that. If I'm saying the word at and I'm stressing on it, I have the black cat vowel, at. I'm at the store. But very often in connected speech, this word gets reduced and that it doesn't have a clear vowel. So even if I'm starting with it at the end of the day, you can hear how my at might sound a little bit like et, or just kind of a very reduced vowel before the T, at the end. So I want to make sure that this word is very short and that I'm stressing on the important words in this phrase, end and day, at the end of the day. So you can hear da-da-da, da-da-da, at the end of the day. End and day have more length. Day has the primary stress, but end is going to have a little bit of length as well. Then you may have heard at the end. There's not really a break here between at and the. So what I do is for that T after at the end, I stop my T. I don't say at the, no break, no release of the T, at the end. So I make a stopped T, which means I go up to make the T, and then I immediately move into my TH sound, at the. I also cheat rather than making a movement of at, where I lift my tongue to the position behind the teeth for the T. I just stop the air further back in my mouth, and my tongue goes right to the position for the TH, at the. You can see how to be ready for that TH, my tongue needs to be between my teeth so I can go fluently and smoothly right to the. I do have several videos talking about phrases with the word the and how we link to it, in the, at the, of the, etc. How to say that fluently and still correctly make your TH sound. So you might want to check that out on our TH playlist or on our Real Talk playlist. Real Talk is what I call this type of teaching where we look at written words and spoken words and how they differ. So I do my stop T at the end. This letter E sounds like an E because when I have the word the and the next word starts with a vowel sound, the end, I use that E vowel. So I rewrote that here for you with two E's, the end, at the end. The other word the in this you'll see is pronounced as the when we have the word the is followed by a consonant sound, which is most of the time. We say the with vowel schwa instead of vowel E. So at the end of the day, at the end of the day. Although I won't stress on it like the end. And if I'm saying, unless I'm using that the in a stressed way, it's going to be still fast and unstressed. When I move from the to end, the end, I link the two. And when I link between a word that ends with a vowel and the next word starts with a vowel, I have a little gliding sound in between, the end. So I've written that here with the letter Y. You can hear how the glide is a y sound, which that's the IPA for that. Think of it as the end is all together, at the end, at the end. I've also written, linked the D to the word of, so the D sound at the end of the word end of, links right into the word of, right into the sound, the vowel schwa of. At the end of the day. Now, if I had, for example, at the end of a long day, then I would have of, that V would link to the next vowel. But because I'm going from the V sound to the TH sound at the end of the, I am linking, but I am making both of those sounds. So I show a break here. Again, since of the needs to go together, that's another 2-word phrase you may want to practice because the v and th sounds might not connect smoothly for you. Practice that of the day. And then on the day, I have again my schwa for this word the, and then day is the word that I'm holding the longest. It's the most important word in this phrase. It gets the stress and the clear vowel. One suggestion I have to be able to hear these kinds of things is when you're listening to a video, turn the speed down a little bit and you may notice that you can hear how those things connect. I'll model that for you. If I were to say this fluently but slowly with the same connections, it would sound like at the end of the day, at the end of the day, at the end of the day. So obviously, it's a challenge to break down every single phrase like this, but when you learn about what T does when it links, how we connect between vowels, those types of reductions and linking can be very useful. Not a lot of reductions in this one, except for maybe our at is reduced. Then at our next phrase, out of order, we have another kind of linking for a final T. So this T, because it's linking to a vowel, is going to turn into a flap sound like we have in words like water or little. So I've written that here as out of order. And then again, our word of, the V is going to link to the next vowel. So out of or. Here we have the main stress on the or syllable of order, out of order. So the out of is going to be very fast. Or is going to be stretched, and then der with our little flap is going to be short again, out of order. So challenging to think about these things. Many of you naturally link and connect words like this and do reductions like this as you're speaking because you've been speaking English for a long time. You have a lot of these patterns already, but it can be helpful to break them down, look at what's really happening there, and get a sense of written words versus spoken speech. So thank you for listening for this first part of class, and now I'm going to turn to your questions. Do feel free at any point to put your questions in the chat, or if you're watching as a replay, you can put your questions in the comments. I do go through those later on to give you answers, resources, videos, or to cover your word in a future class. Okay, welcome everyone. It's nice to see so many of you here. We have a question about the words boost versus post. So in the word boost, we have the oo vowel, which we often spell with letters oo. And so thinking about for oo, you really want a high tongue and very rounded lips, boo, boost. And then for post, we have vowel O, and that's a diphthong, so we're going to be gliding O. Our mouth starts more open. It's also rounded, but for oo, very tight and round. For O, the jaw is more open, the lips are not as rounded, and then we'll close. O. We close and relax as we say that sound. Then, of course, we also have the boost, has the B sound with my voice on. Post. What you want there is the P sound. You should feel a puff of air coming out. P. When I say post or any word with the P at the start in American English, that has a burst of air versus boost. Think of your voice being vibrating here, B, B, and there's not so much air coming out. Boost and post. Thank you. We might often say those together. She's going to boost that post. That's a marketing term. Thank you. Okay, so we have a question about whether certain words sound the same in fast conversational English. So let her versus letter. So yes, both of these can sound like letter with a flap T, because sometimes when we link, we do the reduction of dropping that H sound, which would mean the T would link right to a vowel and it becomes a flap letter. I'm going to let her come. I got a letter in the mail. And then same thing with some of your others. Buyer. I'm gonna buy her a dog. Buyer and buyer. Buy her a dog. I think in this one, I'll buy her something. Yeah, we have first syllable stress. Same pattern where that H can drop. So yes, that's a definite pattern that we use as one of our reductions. I do have a video about reduced H sounds in words like him, her, etc. You can see that on our playlists for reduced sounds and linking. And also I talk about those types of patterns in my Real Talk course on speechmodification.com, where we look at written words and spoken speech and how they differ and those types of reductions and linking. Great, thank you. We have a question about, I'm not sure about your word desuetude. Are you thinking about destitute? I don't recognize your word. So you might want to look in the dictionary to make sure that's spelled right. I'll come back to you in your question. Another question about the word of, whether the V sound, so of is a schwa and a V sound, whether the V can be silent. Yes, so in some cases we might say cup of coffee, a cup instead of a cup of coffee, cup of. I think it especially happens when the next word starts with a consonant. I want to get a cup of coffee, cup of coffee. It's maybe a little bit casual, or I only happens in fairly fast speech. I might also say cup of coffee, cup of coffee. But I don't want to leave that V off if I'm in something like out of order. It sounds a little bit incorrect to my ear. You may hear native speakers use it in some cases, but you want to have correct natural sounding pronunciation. So yes, sometimes you'll even see people write like cuppa, cup of coffee, because they're dropping that V sound. So that can happen for sure. Another good reduction point. Okay, we have a question about the pronunciation of the word thwarted. So this one's probably tough because we don't commonly have TH plus another consonant sound, except for some words with THR, like three or through. Excuse me. In the word thwarted, what I would suggest is to get this TH, W, and R sound together, I would build it from the R sound. So when we have a W before vowels with R, it changes the pronunciation. So even though AR would usually say R or air, in thwarted, it says the OR sound, thwarted. So I would start with OR, then add my W, or, war, And then to do thwar, I just have to bring my tongue forward between the teeth for the TH, thwar, and already have my lips rounded for that W sound. So the lips close a little bit, thwar, and then they open back up. My tongue is ready for that R, which is why I was suggesting to start on the or, because even as I'm doing the th and w, my tongue needs to be very ready to go back into that spot, thwarted. And then this is a flap T because it's followed by an unstressed syllable, so it's going to sound more like a D. And then words that end in ed or ted tend to have the I vowel, so thwarted. That might help you to think about that, breaking it up that way and respelling it to represent the sounds. Yeah, that's a tough word. Thank you for bringing that one up. That would be a good word of the day to discuss in a future word of the day video. So I do have videos each day, word of the day videos that are from your requests, where I break down the words and show you the spelling. You can see that full playlist, and also if you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, you'll get a notification each morning when I have our word of the day lesson. Okay, thank you. We have a question about the schwa sound, whether you need to add a schwa sound after D in a word like dweller or dwindle. So another combination like thwarted. So if I'm doing the word dwindle or dwell, we don't want a schwa between the D and the W. That would sound like dwindle or dwell. So you want to just, again, move quickly from your D to your W, dwi. There might be a tiny bit of vowel that appears because like when I go from D to W, dwi, there is a little bit of vocalic sound there, but you want to try to reduce that. So rather than dwindle, I want more dwindle. Because the problem with having a schwa there is that it's going to add a syllable and it would sound like too slow and won't be clear. So we do have the dwi combination. Also, you might find it easier to practice with a TW first, like twin, dwin. So you can hear how in dwin, it does sound a little bit like there's a little vowel in there versus twin, where my voice isn't on. You won't hear it so much. Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Definitely a bit of a challenge there. These blends that have the W, the THW or the DW. Okay, we have a question about the word panacea and whether or not this is an obsolete word or used in daily life. I would say it's definitely not obsolete. People use it. I'm not sure, how commonly used it is, but it's not an old or obsolete word at all. So a panacea, we have first syllable stress. Letter A says, the first letter A says ah, like in pan or black cat. The second letter A is reduced. It's a schwa sound because it's in an unstressed syllable. And in this word, the letter C says the S or S sound. And then we have an E and another schwa. So it sounds like panacea. Actually, we have secondary stress on that first syllable and primary stress on the C syllable. So it would be panacea. And again, here's another example where you might have a little vowel-to-vowel gliding between the y and the panacea. You don't need to intentionally put in a strong y sound there. It's just going to naturally link as I move from e to panacea. So I'll say that this one is not the stressed syllable, but it has a little length because it has that clear vowel. Panacea. Panacea means a cure-all, something that fixes everything. Okay, great. Please feel free to leave your questions. Put a question in the chat if you have one. You can also leave comments with questions about word pronunciation, about the topic we were talking about at the beginning of class, or something you'd like to see in a future video. As I mentioned, we have our Word of the Day playlist. I also have a number of playlists for things like medical terminology, how to pronounce names of people, places, and brands, different foods, and then, of course, our American accent training playlists. We have some 30-day challenges that you can do. I also want to mention that for our channel members, we have some specific playlists for you. Our American Sounds Challenge that walks you through all of the sounds of English, as well as our members-only playlist. So we do also have members-only live classes and members-only videos. That's something, if you're interested in it, you can click on, if you've subscribed to the channel, then click on the join button and you'll see the perks that we offer for channel members. And I just want to give a shout out and a thank you for so many of you to having subscribed to the channel and joined as channel members. I truly appreciate your support, and all the comments and questions are wonderful as well, because they help me know what words to cover in our Word of the Day series and what questions to address in our other videos looking at sounds. So one of our recent playlists looks at the letters versus the sounds, and so we have several videos talking about the different sounds that letters can make. This is also something we cover in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com, because oftentimes, as you know, we don't have one letter for one sound in English, so it can be very helpful to know how those things happen, as well as our Real Talk playlist that looks at words and phrases like we talked about at the beginning of class today. Okay. We have a question about the word stirrer and try. So stirrer, that's really a tough one, even for me to say, and also for probably most native speakers, because we have and together here. Any word that has R or multiple R's, I recommend starting with the R, particularly the stressed R, which is in this first syllable, So letters I-R, U-R, lots of different letters can say just that sound. I usually write that with E-R, like her for you. So start with then add your T, stir. So stir, not so challenging. When I have to do stirrer, I have to add another sound. And basically my tongue goes back into that tight R position, stir. Then I drop a little bit and come right back into it. Stirrer. So I kind of have to almost have R-E-R, as part of stirrer. I don't need stirrer with two R sounds, but they link together. Stirrer. You might want to check out my video for how to pronounce mirror. Even though that has an ear combination, it also walks you through how to do R to R blends. So stirrer is really tough. And then also you mentioned the word try. I do have a video for words with TR combinations like train and try. Again, I build this from the R sound, and the letter Y says the I diphthong. So it's try, which I'll write here like we have in the word right. So trying just rye and then add your T. Rye, try. When I do try, what I need is that my R is already ready, which is why I have you start on the R sound. Rye, the back of my tongue is tight and braced. And then to do try, I just keep the back of the tongue in the same spot and lift the front a little bit, tap it up for the T. Rye, try. That can help you do that TR blend. If I start with the T, and then I go to the R, try, there's too much other sound between the T and the R, like in dwelling. I don't want dwelling. I need to be able to co-articulate those sounds, which means a sound sometimes has to change from how I would say it. If I just say tie or tight, I can just lift the front of the tongue. The back of my tongue is getting ready for the vowel. But when I say try, the back of my tongue needs to be ready for the R sound, and the T has to adapt. Any word that has an R, the R wins. That position is tricky and difficult to get. The other sounds might have to change a little bit how I'm making them in order to have an accurate American R. So I hope that helps you with those two difficult words. Thank you. Those are great suggestions. Okay, a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up for today. I will be here again next week at the same time and each Saturday. So feel free to, if I don't get to your question today, you can attend next week. Also, you can leave a comment on any video and I'll add your words to cover in my word of the day, or I'll make sure that I give you information like videos that have where I've already covered your word. Okay, we have a question about the word GIF, whether I go with GIF or GIF. And I covered this in a video, and I did some research at the time, and I believe, if I remember correctly, the creator of GIFs expected it to be a J sound, but many people say GIF. And I don't really talk about GIFs or GIFs all that often. I probably would say GIF because I know that that was what the original pronunciation is, but these are both used and acceptable. So just listen, if you're trying to decide which one to use, listen to the people you're talking with who use it and maybe use the same thing as them so you're well understood. And yeah, people do argue about that one and other pronunciations, but both are in the dictionary and both are correct. Okay, wonderful. So nice to see everyone here today. Thank you for the wonderful questions. It was a really fun class with really great topics, really interesting. I appreciate all of the support you've been giving the channel, coming back day after day for our Word of the Day videos and attending our live classes on Saturday. If you're watching this as a replay, leave me a comment with your question. I'll get back to you with some resources and answers. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a great Saturday, and I look forward to seeing you in our next classes. Also check out the free resources and inexpensive online courses we have on speechmodification.com if you want to go a little more in depth with more advanced information like in this class. Check out the Real Talk course, or for a basic, great foundation for all of the sounds, check out our Sounds of English course. I'll be back again tomorrow with another word of the day, and a week from today we'll have our next live class. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Hope to see you again soon.